And loneliness, I mean, that is a huge disease in our society today.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think we, as a society where we've got so much information and people have so many different ways to connect, and then we get to see all these examples of what connection looks like, but yet people are more lonely now than, or at least they're reporting that they're more lonely now than ever before?
People need, though, connections that we don't get through, and I know we're doing this podcast, so apologies in advance, but it doesn't just come through electronic means and virtual means and, social media, and yet that's kind of where we keep moving toward more and more instead of human connection. And that's why, as Sue-Ann was saying, I mean, just do what you can do. I know that sounds maybe trite, but find the thing you can actually do. So I don't have the energy to do, all these other things, but I could just do this one thing. And sometimes that's simply just being present with somebody else, but it makes a difference to them. If you're not in a place where you think you can have deep conversations with someone right now, then go and visit somebody who isn't able to communicate very well. Like go to a nursing home or something and just spend time with somebody. It matters to them. It makes a difference to them, and it can help you too. But start small, but just do the things you can do. But I think that just staying in place, you're just going to move lower and lower, deeper and deeper into despair.
Well then, as spiritual leaders, do you ever feel lonely?
Honestly, I think I don't. I feel very fortunate in that I have a wonderful partner in life. I have a big family, good people, and a huge church family. So I feel that I'm really buoyed by a community of support. But I do know many people who feel lonely. And it seems like the bigger the town, maybe the more lonely we feel. Like it seems like in a smaller town, a smaller community, people talk to each other. They have to rely on each other more. But I find, we live in Oakville, and I don't know most of the neighbors on our street. Like, what a weird thing that we live so close to people and we don't know them. And so many people, they, pull into their garage and, the door goes down and they go in the house through the little door straight into the house. So they don't say hello to anybody.
No, especially since the pandemic, right? But I think, you can have a desire to be alone and need to be alone and not be lonely. But you can also be lonely because you're with people or surrounded by people that you are not feeling connected or grounded with.
Yeah.
We often talk about loneliness or being alone versus solitude. So I can choose to be alone, and I'd love to do that. So walking a labyrinth, for instance, and I can do that on my own, and I can be at one with God, not feel alone, but I can be in solitude, right? Or I can pray contemplatively and do that in solitude, alone, by myself.
Yes.
But I don't feel lonely, partly because of what Sue-Ann was talking about. I mean, being part of a community of spiritual people, it's really hard to feel lonely when you're part of that community. So I don't feel alone because I feel like God's love is always surrounding me, and I'm always having that presence with me. So, but I do think that people need to, allow themselves to be part of community, because I was just talking to one of our neighbors just last week, and what Sue-Ann just said is exactly what we were talking about. How can we be surrounded by thousands of people and not really know people, and really you can feel alone, because if you don't make those connections, then you will be alone. But it does require us to reach out to people, or at least be open to, to being in community with people. Yeah,
I feel like when you're lonely, you feel achy, like you feel like you're aching for something. I remember the first time I ever felt alone, like I can remember distinctly, or I felt lonely was when I was about 11. And, my parents were divorced. I didn't grow up with my dad being present. And actually, if you asked me when I was a kid if that really bothered me, I felt sad that he wasn't there, but I didn't feel like I was missing out because I had such a present parent and I had other people. But at the same time, now looking back, I think when you are a singular child, or you're growing up, I grew up in the 70s when we were sort of independent, you're the latchkey kids, you get the key. It's like, go home after school, don't open the door. And warm dinner up in the oven, but don't turn the oven on. So you're not sure how you would do that. And don't go outside, but then go outside, but don't, come back and, be safe. Lots of contradictions. Anyways, but I remember feeling so if you asked me, did I feel like I missed having a whole family always around me, I would say no. I think it was really good to be independent and singular. But then also I remember feeling lonely from not being around people. And what I did was, that's actually when I started to volunteer. There was a seniors home in the community that I lived in. And so I just went there after school one day, and I asked if I could read to the community members. And they said, sure, we'd love for you to do that. And when I was about 11, I just started reading, and that became a way for me to feel less lonely. And there's something about someone who is also lonely and alone looking at you and feeling grateful that you're there. And I remember feeling that, and it was like an inoculation. Oh, this is what I do when I feel lonely. I give myself, or I give, not give myself, but I give of something of myself. And then that became part of my spiritual practice.
Yes.
So I'm always curious about what people do to be less lonely in the world.
And I think, too, it has a lot to do with having at least one very close relationship. Somebody who has your back, somebody who will help you bury the bodies, right? I mean,
that's interesting coming from a priest.
Yes, but we do that formally. Usually,
literally.
Usually in a cemetery. But
yes, literally.
But still not what I meant. But
won't
somebody
even let me save you, right?
that would do anything for you, and that you would do anything for, and I think we need to have that kind of relationship with a higher power too. And so many people don't, and I think that leaves a big hole and a lot
because
of
people
lonely.
can let you down. We know that, right? We make mistakes. We have failings. So if you have that relationship with a higher power, then you know that you can at least count on that.